Hi guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my most surprising books for 2022. And all of these books are surprising because I just had no idea that I was going to enjoy them as much as I did. And I ended up rating these books either a 4 or 5 stars. And when I picked up these books, I just had no expectations going into them, and I was pleasantly surprised by the time I got done reading them. So I don't necessarily have these books ranked. I'm just going to start with the ones that I started at the beginning of the year and just work my way to the ones I finished most recently. So we will go ahead and get started. So first up, we have Night Swim, which is by Megan Golden, and it's a adult mystery. And this one follows our main character by the name of Rachel, and she is a true crime podcaster, and I believe the name of her podcast is Guilty or Not Guilty. And her podcast became really popular because one of the cold cases that she was working, she was able to set a person that was presumed guilty free because they were actually innocent. And so at the beginning of the story, she is working on her first active case. And in that case that she is following and reporting on, the person that is being charged is this high school swimmer, and he is being charged with raping another student. And so while she is following this case, she has been receiving these random notes, and in these notes that she has been receiving at these random locations, whether that's on her car, in her hotel room, in restaurants, this person has been asking her to look into this case where they believe years prior, their sister was presumed to have died due to a drowning. But this person in their notes thinks that their sister was actually murdered. So then we jump to a different timeline where this person, which is the girl's sister, is telling the story of how their sister died. And so the story kind of takes off from there. And I ended up really enjoying this story. This was my first Megan Golden book. And I ended up reading another Megan Golden book later on in the year called The Escape Room, which I enjoyed, but not as much as this one. But I really enjoy the two different timelines. One trying to figure out what happened to this girl's sister. The other one trying to figure out if this guy really did rape this other student. And I also liked the true crime podcast aspect of the story because I listened to this one on audio, and the audio did a really good job with making it seem like it was an actual podcast. It didn't just tell us that it was a podcast. It actually had a different section of the story where it jumped back and forth between the story and it being a podcast, and it actually sounded like a podcast. So I really enjoyed that. I will say that at the end of this book, the twist wasn't that surprising. I kind of figured it out by the time we got to the end, but everything else leading up to that I really enjoyed. And so I really enjoyed this one, and because of that, it made me want to pick up other books by Megan Golden. But I ended up rating this one a 5 stars, and if you have not read The Night Swim, I would highly recommend this one. And if you are going to pick this one up, I would definitely suggest picking this one up on audiobook just because of the podcast element of the story. So then the next one that I picked up is Queenie by Candace Carty Williams, and this is a adult fiction, and this one is one of the books that I had on my shelf for a while. I had picked this up because I heard at the time that this came out that a lot of people really enjoyed it, so I had picked it up at the time, but then I had let it kind of just sit there, and so I finally picked it up. I also listened to this one on audio, and I devoured this one when I finally got around to listening to it. And I'm not gonna lie, I loved this story. And so this one follows our main character, Queenie. She lives in London. She's, I think, around 25 years old. She's a Jamaican woman. She is in a relationship with this white guy by the name of Tom. But at the beginning of the story, she and Tom end up breaking up, and it just basically follows Queenie as her life spirals out of control after the breakup between her and Tom. And so we follow Queenie as she is trying to basically pick up the pieces after this tumultuous breakup. And so we follow her as she is trying to navigate what happens at her job after this breakup. We see her as she is trying to figure out how to get back into the dating game. She kind of starts to become a little promiscuous. Her friends, I love her friends in this story, but her friends are trying to help her try to figure out, her next steps in the dating game. And then we find out that she is having some issues within her family. She doesn't have the best relationship, I believe, with her mother. And so we are basically just following her life. The character of Queenie, I feel, is so relatable. Even if you cannot relate to everything that this main character is going through, there is at least one thing that you will be able to relate to when it comes to the character of Queenie. And I just loved everything about this story. I loved her and her friends. I loved her family. I loved how they talked about therapy and how important therapy is. I loved how they talked about that everybody is not accepting of therapy, how in certain families and how people are brought up that therapy is not accepted and how it's looked down upon. This story is just, I thought it was amazing, and I kick myself all the time that I just let this sit on my shelf for so long. But if you have not picked up Queenie, again, it's one of those books I think you should. She has another book that came out later this year that I have not had a chance to get around to, that I'm really looking forward to, but I would definitely suggest you guys pick up Queenie because it is such a relatable story. So then the next one that I have is The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager, and this is a adult mystery, and this one is not everybody's cup of tea. And this one, I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised that I actually really enjoyed this one. And so this one follows our main character by the name of Emma. And 15 years ago, when she was at Camp Nightingale, she was in a bunk with 3 other girls, and she was actually younger than the other girls that she was in the bunk with. And so one night, these 3 girls go out, they leave Emma behind, and they tell her that they're coming right back, and they are never seen from again. And Emma is the last one that has seen these girls basically alive. And so because that these girls went missing, it was a big deal, obviously, because they were never seen from again. They were presumed dead. And so because of all of the news around these 3 girls, the camp ended up being shut down. And so 15 years later, Emma, of course, was haunted by this because she believes that she might have seen something, not sure if she's seen something or knows something, and she's just kind of been haunted by those 3 missing girls, and she's always wondered what happened to them. And so 15 years later, the owner of Camp Nightingale comes to her and lets her know that she is going to be reopening the camp and wants Emma to come back as the art instructor because Emma has become an artist. So Emma reluctantly agrees to go back to the camp as an art teacher. And so when Emma goes back, she decides that she's going to try and figure out what happened to those 3 girls. But then also, she ends up back in the same bunk that she was in 15 years ago. And the kids that were in that bunk that she's supposed to be watching, they also go missing. So the story kind of takes off from there. So I really, really enjoyed this story, surprisingly. Because up until I read this one, I think I had only read maybe 2 other Riley Sager books. So I think I read Survive the Night and The Final Girls, which both of those to me were fine. So I went into this one thinking again that this one was just going to be fine, and I freaking love this. I love the 2 timelines. I loved like this paranormal aspect that we kind of got in this one. And I actually really enjoyed the twist at the end. It did kind of make me angry, but I'm okay with a story just bringing out like a visceral reaction for me. And that's what this one did. It literally made me angry. So I really enjoyed this story. So since I've read this one, I have read 2 other Riley Sager books, and I have not enjoyed anything from him as much as I have enjoyed this one. So needless to say, I'm really surprised that I enjoyed The Last Time I Lied as much as I did. So next up we have is The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart, which is the first book in the Drowning Empire series, I think. Yeah, the first book in the Drowning Empire series. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I thought I was going to enjoy this, but I had no idea I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. So the basic premise of this one, and this is an adult fantasy series, but the basic premise of this one is we are just following this girl by the name of Lynn, and she is supposed to be the heir of her father's empire, but she has lost all of her memories. And her father is like, no, I'm not going to hand this empire over to you because you don't have any memories. And so she has been working really hard to gain all of her memories back. And so that is like a really small piece of this story. But the really cool thing about this story that I like is the magic system. And the magic system revolves around bone shard magic. And a really simple way to describe that magic system, you can extract pieces of a person's bone, hence bone shards, and you can put commands on those shards. And from those shards, you can make constructs, are what they are called. And these constructs are funny looking creatures. So for example, you would have like a spider's body mixed with like human hands. So it's different parts of like a creature mixed with a different creature's body part. So you're mixing different creatures together, but you're using bone shards to be able to control these creatures, is basically what the magic is. And I thought the magic system was really unique. I haven't read anything like that thus far, so I really enjoyed that part of the story. I really enjoyed the different perspectives in this story, particularly Jovi, I believe is that character's name, and he has like this animal companion that nobody really knows what type of animal it is, that I think that he found like out in the ocean, and it just kind of followed him, and throughout the story it's like growing, but we still don't really know what it is. And so I really just enjoyed this story. I have meant to pick up the second book at some point this year and just have never gotten around to picking it up. It's right back there, it's blue, so I can't wait to actually complete the series. I think it's only 3 books in the series, but the 3rd book comes out early next year, so I cannot wait to pick this up. I ended up giving this one, I think, a 5 stars, but I really did enjoy this one way more than I thought I was going to. But if you have not picked up the Bone Shard Darter, I highly suggest that you do. I have not heard anybody that has read this say that they did not like it, so I would highly recommend this one. So then the next one that I picked up is Black Girls Must Be Magic by Jane Allen, which is actually the first book that is a part of a series that I did not know was a part of a series when I first picked this one up. But this is an adult fiction, and in this we are following our main character by the name of Tabitha. And at the beginning of this story, she finds out that she is not able to have children. But then later on in the story, she finds out that she is indeed pregnant after she has gone through like some fertility treatments. She ends up getting pregnant, and that's a whole story within itself. But we are basically just following Tabitha as she is trying to navigate this pregnancy. We are following her as she is navigating some issues with her job. She works at a newsroom, and she is trying to get a promotion there, but she is working through some obstacles. She is also going through some things within her friendship and some of her friends. She has 2 best friends in this story, and they are going through some things. And then we are following her as she is visiting her grandmother a lot, and her grandmother has this best friend who I absolutely love by the name of Gretchen. And we are just following Tabitha as she is just navigating life. And this is also one of those stories that I feel like is very, very relatable. It deals with so many topics that I was just not expecting to just hit home. She is a woman, a Black woman that is in her early 30s, and she is dealing with the pressures of wanting to be successful, wanting to be in a relationship, wanting to have kids, but also dealing with the pressures of everyone trying to stick a timeline on when all of this should happen for you, but also wanting to do it on her own timeline. And I think at some point in our lives, we have all, as women, felt that sort of pressure where we want to have a career, but we also want to be able to figure out our relationships and when it's right for us to have kids and not when somebody else thinks it's right for us to have kids. And then we also have had those struggles within our jobs and how we have to fight to be heard and fight to be promoted, but you're also fighting this fight against men. And then when you're in your relationships, you know how it's so easy for them to want a certain thing versus, you know, when you want a certain thing. And so this book just hit in so many different ways. And again, just like I said with Queenie, you might not be able to relate with everything that our main character Tabitha is going through, but I think that you will be able to relate to at least something. And then, like I said, she is visiting her grandmother a lot, but her grandmother's friend Gretchen is dropping so many gems throughout this story that I think she will say something that will resonate with you at some point throughout the story. So again, I would highly recommend this one. Now, I did read the second book in this series this year as well. I thought that one was okay. I am still really anticipating the last book in this series. It comes out next year, so I hope that that last book will make up for how I felt about the second one. I think the second one just kind of had like second book syndrome, but I really enjoyed this one. It was a pleasant surprise, just like Queenie was. So if you guys have not picked this one up, I would definitely recommend this one. So then I had picked up Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. And I only picked this one up because I was anticipating the new Jurassic Park that came out this year, Jurassic Park Dominion, because I am like a Jurassic Park freak. I love all the Jurassic Parks. But of course, my favorite Jurassic Park will always be the first one. That will always hold a special place in my heart. But I went ahead and picked this one up, and this is an adult science fiction. I don't have to tell you guys what Jurassic Park is. I think at this point, somebody knows what this book is. If you don't know what the book is, you know what the movie is. This was a surprise for me because I did not think that I was going to enjoy this one as much as I did because, I mean, I've seen all of the movies. The first movie, of course, is based off of this first book. And I thought after seeing the movie and seeing it so many times that the book wouldn't really add too much to my experience with Jurassic Park. But this is so different than the movie, and it is much more graphic than the movie. To me, they toned down the movie a lot based off of what is in this book. And I enjoyed the book way more than what is in the movie. After I read this book, I went back and watched the movie, and it is so different. I just enjoyed, you know, learning about the dinosaurs, seeing where everything started. This one not only talked about the dinosaurs, but it also talked about like the wildlife, the insects, everything else that was included in the park. It, you know, went in and talked about everything that was wrong with the park. And, you know, these people are just stupid. None of what they did was ever going to work. My favorite character between the book, the movie, will forever be Ian Malcolm. He is just a butthole, but I love it. I absolutely love it. The person that I like the least, of course, is Hammond, you know, the guy that came up with this, because what were you thinking? Like, that this was never gonna work. Yes, you're smart, you know, kudos to you for, you know, coming up with this, but it was never gonna work. You killed people unnecessarily. Why? Why? And the children, especially like the girl, Lexi, whatever her name is, she was so annoying, both in the book and the movie. So annoying. But if you guys have seen the movie and you're like, I would never read the book because I've already seen the movie, so what's the point? No, read the book. It is so different. I really love this. I really want to read Jurassic Park: The Lost World, but I really want a nice copy of The Lost World. I don't understand why they don't make nice copies of both books. They just do it for the first one and they forgot the second one. So if you guys know where I can get a nice copy of The Lost World, let me know, because I have not seen where I can get like two of the same copy. A nice copy of Jurassic Park. I would also like a nice copy of The Lost World, but I really hope that I can read The Lost World soon. But you guys really should check out Jurassic Park, the book, because it is really good and it's really exciting and it kept me on the edge of my seat. So I really enjoyed this one. Next up, we have Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And this is an adult historical fiction. And so this one follows a girl by the name of Daisy Jones. And we follow her, who she's a musician, and how she gets connected to this band called The Six. And the story kind of begins where we're following the two groups separately. So we're following Daisy as she's beginning her career, and then we're following the band The Six as they are starting their career, and then how they are meshed together. I listened to this one on audio, which is how I would definitely recommend reading this one, listening to this one. It's just an added experience because it's told in interview style format. So I think you would get a lot more out of this listening to this one on audio. I really enjoyed this one. So I did a video where I compared this one to the revival of Opal and Ned. And the reason why I'm not gonna include the revival of Opal and Ned, because I really did enjoy that one as well, is because I knew that I was probably going to enjoy that one. But I didn't really think that I was going to enjoy this one because I've read previously two other Taylor Jenkins Reid's novel. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I thought was fine. And then I read Malibu Rising, which I did enjoy. But this one, I don't know why I didn't really think that I was going to enjoy this one as much as I did. It was about bands, like a rock band, and that's not really my jam. So I just did not go into this thinking this was going to be something that I was going to like. But I was pleasantly surprised. This not only talked about, you know, this girl, Daisy Jones, and this rock band, but it also talked about the struggles within the band, the drug use, the infidelity, the arguments and the turmoil within the band. It touched on so much and everything that these people struggle with within the band that I didn't even think of. And I enjoyed this. And then, like I said, if you're going to pick this up, the audiobook just added to the experience of the story. I think this got picked up for a show, which I would be interested to watch. So I really enjoyed Daisy Jones and the Six. So if you guys are a fan of Taylor Jenkins Reid and you haven't picked this up, I would recommend this one. Then the last one I have is Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lapina. And this is an adult mystery. And let me tell you, I did not think that I was going to like this one as much as I did. But I say it all the time. I'm going to say it again. I like a book that is messy and that has anything to do with the family that is messy. And this is exactly what I got out of this. And this is something that I feel I picked it up at the right time because this just hit me in all the feels. I must have been looking for a messy book because this is what I got, a messy book. So we are following this family, this rich family, and the two parents, Fred and Sheila Merton, were murdered on Easter night, the night of Easter. Obviously, their kids were accused or being investigated for the murder because once these two parents were found dead, their children were set to receive a big inheritance. And because of that, they are automatically looked at as the people that would have killed their parents because they're set to get all this money. And so we are following these children as they are being investigated for the death of their parents. And secrets are revealed, mess is revealed, and I was here for it. My favorite thing about this book is that there was a scene before the murder takes place where they are all at Easter dinner and they are sitting around the table. All the children are there. Their spouses are there. The mother and father is there. Their father is a butthole. He is at this table. He looks at all of his children in the face and he literally reads them for filth. He tells them each what is wrong with them and basically everything that he does not like about them. And I am like listening to this, because this is another one that I listen to on audio. And I'm like listening to this with my mouth hanging wide open. Like, I cannot believe this man is talking to his children like this. And these people are listening to it. I am like dying laughing. And at that moment, I knew that I was going to love this book. This was so messy. The secrets that were being revealed is so messy. These children are just stupid. Like, I loved this story. Now, the ending was a little wonky. I didn't like how it ended. And like, you could pretty much guess who did it. But leading up to it, I was here for it. I had a good time with this. If you have not picked this one up, I suggest that you do, because you're going to have a good time. You're going to have a wild ride. Pick this one up. Now, I have not really heard good things about her other works, but this one, I promise, you are going to have a good time with it. So pick it up. So that is all that I have for you guys today with my most surprising reads for 2022. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.